Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast. We are live Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And today, we are going to be talking about empowered ways to deal with your anger. Part 2. And anger isn't something to fear or suppress. It's a powerful signal that, when understood and handled consciously, can lead to deeper healing, stronger connections, and stronger boundaries and authentic relationships. So in this episode today, you'll learn how to decode the deeper message behind anger, grounding tools to stay calm when emotions run high, and the difference between reactive and responsive behavior, and empowered communication strategies to de-escalate conflict. So, the first thing is anger has gotten a bad rap. And I really feel the reason why is because most of us grew up in families where it wasn't safe to express your anger, and you watched parents, caretakers, teachers, people in your life act out anger in inappropriate and unhealthy ways. And so during the show, we're going to be talking more about how to transform those unhealthy ways into healthy ways, healthy behaviors that will, like I said before, transform yourself and your relationships. And really, one of the things that I'd like you to think about is, if anger had a voice, because your anger is teaching you something. It's your every emotion that you have is an opportunity for you to look at some information in your life to understand yourself more deeply, to understand yourself better. And anger is one of those emotions that, when you start understanding it, it is a life-changing experience. And if you could ask yourself, if anger had a voice, what would it be saying to me? What would it be telling me? And one of the things that you can play around with is you can actually take that question and you can actually imagine yourself being your anger, and imagine what it would feel like. Well, you may be in the middle of that anger. And if you were to express that anger and just let it out, my anger's trying to tell me, blah, 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 blah. And see what happens. Another way that you could do this is anger. You can also journal it out. My anger is trying to tell me, and just allow yourself to write and write and write and just let it out. And another way to let out your anger in healthy ways, because all of these are healthy ways, where, and I usually say it's a healthy way to express your anger when you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting someone else, and you're not hurting the environment. And when you give voice, when you allow yourself to express in healthy ways, you transform. Because a lot of times, anger, what happens is it becomes the unhealthy behaviors. So if you have been overeating, or if you end up being self destructive, or if you are saying things or doing things to yourself or other people and then you regret it, it could be you're acting out your anger. And so, really, it's allowing yourself to be able. Okay, I'll get to you in a second. I see your question, Charles. So it's being able to express your anger so that you are allowing that energy to move in healthy ways and stopping the ways that could be hurting you or someone else. And if you're screaming or yelling to yourself or to other people, that's not healthy unless you're letting it out and screaming into a pillow, or, I mean, if you live alone and you have your whole house to yourself, or you're in a place or in your car where you can scream and it feels okay and you need to, go for it, because that's letting out your anger in a healthy way where you're not hurting yourself. Because anger needs to be expressed. It needs, the energy of emotion is energy that needs to move. And so, and we're going to talk more about healthy ways to move your anger very shortly. I want to get to the questions. So Charles asks, what if you think it's a healthy way, but others don't? So if you think, okay, so if you have an example of that and you'd like to share the example, that would be great, because I think it would be helpful. Okay, and Misty, so let me answer this all together, because Misty says, how would a person know healthy or not? And then she said, different people express things differently. Yes. Okay, so here's the thing. If you are expressing and you think it's healthy, but someone else doesn't, then I would venture to say that if they're getting uncomfortable or upset, then it may not be as healthy as you think. Remember, the key is that if you're hurting yourself or someone else, and if someone else is feeling uncomfortable, or you, like, sometimes you could, okay, I'm going to give you a perfect example. A lot of people use sarcasm. Oh, I was just joking. I'm just joking. I'm not, really, I'm kidding. I didn't mean that. And the truth is, okay, the truth is if you're being sarcastic, and if you're being sarcastic, you are acting out your anger. And a lot of people don't realize that sarcasm is actually unhealthy anger. And it's in the guise, and I'm putting air quotes for those of you who are listening to the podcast, it's in the guise of Oh, well, I was just kidding. But the truth of the matter is, when you're sarcastic, you're hurting somebody else. You're demeaning, you could be demeaning somebody else or even yourself. I, I don't think that you should be demeaning yourself because to me, that's anger turned inward. And you start depreciating yourself and getting down on yourself. So that's not healthy either. Now, Charles said, let's say airing dirty laundry, but others don't want things out there. Okay. So thank you for sharing that, Charles. What I would say is if you are sharing something that someone else does not want shared, it's not really healthy. That even though you may not realizing it, it's actually hurting them. Now, you may not have a conversation about it, but I would really support you. Like when, like in relationships, whether it's a spouse, a partner, a close friend, or even a coworker, and and even gossip. I'm going to tell you, gossip is not healthy because in the end, sometimes the it ends up hurting, not helping. And in a spiritual way, and I'm always looking at how to create a more inspired and empowered life, and for myself and for you, to be more inspired and empowered is to be able to not be gossipy, not sharing other people's issues or dirty laundry. And I'm doing air quotes again, about yourself, unless it's yourself. If it's someone else, then that's you kind of overstepping a boundary. Because then I'm going to be talking about boundaries. And when you're sharing something of somebody else, you're overstepping a boundary. Now, if it's you and you don't mind someone sharing this or talking about it, or you don't mind airing your, like, what's going on for you, your dirty laundry. And and here's the thing, if it involves someone else, then you are involving the other person. So you really need to be very clear when you're airing dirty laundry with someone, that when someone else is involved, then I would say, no, don't do it. It's only when it's just you. And then you have choice. But here's the thing, if you are demeaning yourself and airing something out that you, and this is something for you to think about. And again, remember I said anger when expressed, if it's hurting yourself or someone else or the environment or or the people's property, then you don't want to be doing it. So if you're sharing something, and you need to ask yourself the question, is this something that I will regret saying later? Now, if it's again involving somebody else, then I would say don't do it. I would really support you in not doing it. If it's about you, then you need to ask yourself, is this something that I'm going to regret down the road? And that's you becoming more responsive instead of reactive. And I'm going to describe reaction versus responding with anger, because very often, a lot of times, you're not sure whether it's healthy or not. So, and I'm thinking that what I'd like to do, and I don't, I can give you some examples, but I think that maybe what we need to do is actually maybe what I'll do is next time create a list for all of you, and create a list so that you realize, oh, this is healthy, this is not healthy, so that you really get to see what's healthy behavior around anger and what's not healthy behavior. So because you don't want to be hurting yourself, you don't want to be hurting other people, and you don't want to be destroying property or hurting environment, that kind of thing. So let me give you a few things on the list. So if you are speaking and sharing things that other people feel uncomfortable about, see, here's the thing, and this is really important. Okay, so let me see how I want to say this, because this is a really, really important issue and topic. If you are really wanting to be healthy around your anger, and you don't want to be hitting, fighting, and fighting is emotional reactions, and it could be yelling or screaming or name calling or saying things that will hurt someone else, like sarcasm, like airing dirty laundry of someone else. It could be you and someone else, or someone else's dirty laundry, because that is unhealthy, because it again, it could be very hurtful to the other person. Now, I really want to say thank you for sharing, because by you sharing, you're giving like you're helping me to show people that this is healthy, this is not healthy. So back to reaction and response. When you are in a reaction, okay, so let's go back to my Psych 101 lesson. When you are in your conscious mind and you're making a very clear conscious decision, like tuning into the show today or asking really important questions, thank you, conscious mind of yours, because you're expressing from a very conscious place and making decisions from a conscious place. Now, your subconscious mind is the part of you from the moment you were conceived to present time that has recorded every moment that you have been alive. And it could include past lives, it could include ancestral trauma and memories. And what happens is that when you have an emotional reaction, and one of the biggest emotional reactions, I would say the biggest emotions, well, actually, anger is a biggie. And you usually notice when you start feeling angry, or you could be going into an energy of actual rage, or if you could be annoyed. And I will also say that the more intense the reaction, the more it's coming not from present time, even though a situation in your life could be happening now. If you're having a strong emotional reaction, it means that what's happening in your life now is triggering a past experience, like when you were a child, very often. So, for example, let's say you were let's say you were talking to someone and there were more than like it was you and a few other people. And you're talking to someone and then all of a sudden they turn to the next person like you didn't exist, or you don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. And all of a sudden you start going into this anger, like, why did they totally ignore me? Or what's wrong with them? Why did they do that? And you had an anger reaction. And you noticed, and it was pretty intense. And so, one of the things that you want to ask yourself, okay, is, and this is part of the response equation. So, reaction is coming from the subconscious mind, and responding is coming from your conscious mind and your superconscious mind, that higher aspect of self, your higher self, your soul, that higher part of you. So you have the reaction and you think to yourself, what triggered me? What just happened? What happened in this moment, this experience that really triggered me? And then what you realized is that you felt dismissed. And so here you're thinking you're having a good conversation with someone, and then all of a sudden they turn to somebody else and start talking to them. So you may feel dismissed, you may feel disrespected, or whatever, and it's bringing up a lot of anger. So then you want to ask, all right, so I'm feeling dismissed, I'm feeling maybe rejected, not respected. And then you're going to ask yourself, when did I feel like that in my life? Or who 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 was someone that did that to me when I was younger? So, for example, suppose you got in touch that when you were a kid growing up, you would be talking to your mother and you were trying to express yourself and say what you wanted to say. And then the next thing you know, your mother's starting to talk to you, to your brother. And you're like, hello, what about me? You're a kid and you can't really verbalize it and express it in the moment. So you may shut down in that moment. But what happens is years later, or you have experiences in your life that will bring up that situation, because it probably didn't happen just once. It was probably an ongoing situation. So it's a trigger for you that you react to. So I'm hoping that this helps deal with anger or understand it better. And so when you do that, and then once you get clear on, oh, okay, that's where it came from. That's where it came from. Now, what can I do to release this and let it go? Now, in the moment, now I always talk about two levels of the clearing. There's the deeper clearing, where you want to go deep and understand and actually maybe heal that child part of you. And then you may, and then there's the daily clearing. Like if a situation just happened and you're at a party and you want to like stay and have a good time, but you're upset. Maybe you need to excuse yourself, go to the bathroom. And I'm going to give you a little thing that you can do, a tool here. All right. So, what you want to do is you want to pause it. All right. Now, if you're in major anger and it's really triggering you, you definitely want to take a time out. Because what I'm going to tell you is to engage someone and react can escalate into a confrontation that you don't want to have. And so if you're really intense, then I would support you in taking your time to process the situation so that you understand it. So when you choose to communicate, you can communicate in a very healthy way. Now, so you want to breathe, slow it down, and be able to breathe and pause and ground yourself if you can. And then, if you can, now here's the thing, if you're at a party or at a social situation, it's also not going to be the time. The person is going to be involved. But, and here's the thing, the other thing that I want to say to you all is that if it's someone that you're in a close relationship with, and this relationship is important to you, then you're going to want to express yourself in a healthy way. And you're going to want to be able to allow yourself to really be able to express that so that you're both being heard in healthy ways. So, and anger is a tool where you also, it could be really being able to know your boundaries. When someone steps over your boundaries, it may be that you react in anger, and it's appropriate to feel the anger, because then you're like, oh, okay, again, it's a reaction. Because here's the thing, you're human beings and you're gonna react. There is not one person on this planet that doesn't have a reaction. It's just not possible. And anybody who says, oh, I don't react, I don't believe it. Because as a human being, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna have reactions. We all have it. The most important thing is that you're learning and you being here and you asking questions and you sharing. I mean, I really want to say thank you. I really want to acknowledge all of you for tuning in, because you're saying to yourself, I want better, I want healthier, I want an inspired and empowered life. So yay to you. And so a boundary, if you are noticing that you, like, for example, the not being heard, sometimes, or feeling ignored. Sometimes what happens is you want to express yourself, but a partner, a spouse, a friend is watching TV. This is a common one. And when I would do couples counseling, this would definitely be an issue. And you want to express yourself and you want to talk and you want to be heard. And your partner's like, I just want to rest and watch TV. Now, the best thing to do, whether you're in a social situation or you're at home, is to invite the other person for both you and the other person to schedule a time that would work for both of you. And then once you find a time that would work for both of you, then you want to be able to then have that healthy conversation. And so once you process more of what's going on for you, so I just want to make sure if all of you are clear on what's healthy behaviors and what's not healthy behaviors. Let me know, because I want to make sure, like, again, unhealthy behaviors would be screaming, yelling, hitting, obviously. Anytime somebody doesn't feel safe, whether it's you or someone else, that means the other person's doing an unhealthy behavior physically or emotionally, because you can have emotionally unhealthy behaviors that make you feel unhealthy and not emotionally safe. And that's why when you have a healthy conversation to express yourself, you want to make sure that you're expressing yourself in those healthy ways. So, and I am going to talk more about ways to calm yourself down and then to be able to verbalize in healthy ways what you're really feeling at a time when you both made a plan to speak. So I'm really excited to let you know that I will be having a master class for women coaches, therapists, nurses, holistic professionals, holistic practitioners. And it's 3 keys to become irresistible to your ideal client. Now, during the masterclass, we're going to talk about the energy of attraction and what you need to really get that energy of attraction, how to clarify and claim your ideal client. And then we're going to be talking about magnetic messaging. So, this class is 2 weeks from today, Thursday, July 24th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And I look forward to having you join us. And Rebel's going to put the link in the chat. And the link is inspiredandempoweredliving.com/masterclass. inspiredandempoweredliving.com/masterclass. MASTERCLASS. Okay, so now, so you know that you had a reaction. You become aware that you've had a reaction. And in order to keep it from being an unhealthy reaction and acting out the behavior, and we could go into this more if you feel like you would like or need, so let me know, that you are finding ways to calm yourself down. And there is a breathing exercise. You know, I talk about belly breathing, but I'm going to give you another tool, another breath tool. And this is called 478, the 478 technique. Okay. So, and what happens in this technique and what happens with breathing is that it calms your nervous system right away so that you can then express in healthy ways or choose to leave the situation, whatever it is you need to do, you can then figure out to be able to know what your next step is. And I also want to support all of you in being able to do that. So Charles says, this is good, but to think about it. Okay, so I thank you, Charles, for letting me know. And yeah, here's the thing. When you're not really sure, or you have a realization that something you thought was healthy isn't really healthy, or something that you've been doing, it's a huge awareness, and it's important for you to take the time and for you to process and allow yourself. So I really want to say thank you, Charles, and I honor you for you being in your process and being open and being willing to hear. So thank you. And so with the breath work exercise, what you're going to do is you're going to inhale. And this is something you could do anywhere, anytime. You're going to inhale and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hold it for 7 seconds. So then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm counting on my fingers, so you could use those too. And you hold it for 7. Now, I can't do this because I'm trying to tell you and I'm talking, which is hard to do, but I'm giving you the exercise. And then you breathe out and count to 8. You breathe out for 8. So I'll say it again. You breathe in and breathe in for 4. And remember, if you can remember to make sure your diaphragm, your belly goes out, that means you're deep breathing with your diaphragm. Remember the belly breathing. So you breathe in for 4, you hold for 7, and then you exhale for 8. Breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. And that breathing tool is really, it could be a game changer for you. So I really want to encourage all of you to try it and let me know, how does it work? So another tool that you can use is you can use the tool of being able to use physical exercise as a way to release your anger, as a way to say, okay, so you could imagine and feel, actually, you want to feel, let's say you want to feel your feet like pressing up against the floor. And remember, the more you can breathe through it so that you're releasing the energy, your breath helps you move through the emotion so that you're not trapping it in your body, because that's what you want. The emotions need to move through, and the breath is one of the ways. So no matter what you're doing to work with your breath, or you could be doing some kind of exercise like running or going to the gym and having the intention, I'm releasing my anger so that I can calm down right now and understand what's going on. What got triggered? What am I reacting to? And where is this coming from? When did this happen to me when I was younger? Remember, the feeling and the situation may look different, but the same issue is coming up, like feeling ignored or disrespected or dismissed. And then you can do other techniques, like I'm always talking about journaling, or you can use art. And art, the art is a wonderful tool to be able to process through and express your anger and express your anger. And then it's another thing that you can do is to really create, to really ground yourself, to be in present time, to allow yourself to know that you can, okay? This is a really important thing, that you have the ability and you can create new coping skills. Learning to respond and take healthy coping skills instead of reacting is huge. It's huge. And so I invite you to start practicing, because when you practice the healthy coping skills, even when you may not be in a reactive moment, and I also want you to know it, you may react, it may not only be anger, it may be fear, or maybe somebody guilted you or shamed you. So you may be reacting to another emotion, or maybe something triggered you and all of a sudden you start feeling grief. You're in the middle of a meeting and you get triggered. So you need to use your coping skills, your tools. So we're going to continue what I'm going to do next week. And I really want to thank those of you who put your questions in the chat, because what I'm going to do is, from the questions, I'm going to help get a list. I am going to create a list for you of unhealthy behaviors and healthy behaviors, so that you can really see what's a healthy behavior, what's an unhealthy behavior. And then we're going to go deeper and talk more about how to have healthy communications when you are wanting to have a healthy relationship and have intimacy. Because I will tell you that when you allow yourself and the other person to express yourself in healthy ways, it is transformative in relationships, and it leads you to get closer and more intimate. And it can really make a big difference in your close relationships. Now, I will also give you examples, like if it's something at work or at the job or in your business, and it's not appropriate to share a lot of personal details, we'll be talking about that too. Okay, so I will give you examples for all of that. So, to be continued next week, part 3 of empowering ways to deal with yours and others' anger. And we'll talk more about how to support yourself when other people are angry too, because you need to take care of yourself so you feel emotionally safe or physically safe. That's really important too. Safety is crucial, whether it's yours. You want, in healthy relationships, you want safety. You want safety. Okay. So I look forward to sharing more about empowering ways to deal with yours and others' angers next Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And you can also listen to my podcast 24/7 on. So if you need to go back to anything that we talked about today, you can go back easily on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, and many more. And I wish you all an inspired and empowered day, evening, and week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye for now.